everybody. Good to see you guys this morning. Okay, so what are we talking about today? So over the past week or two, or past while, I've been thinking about some things, and I've got a presentation that I want to make, that I want to give to you guys. I've got a presentation I want to show you. So there's some changes that I've been thinking about making to the core rules. Nothing big, but as it is a game that is already out in the wild, even little changes can be controversial. So this is for playtesting. Good audio, thank you. Hey, good to see you, random. Um, so because if this was like a game that was still in development, like it wouldn't even register on the radar. But because it's a game that's out there in the wild and people have played it a lot and people are currently playing it, I want to be very, very, very careful. Um, hey, um, so this is something that I want to explain and make the case for. Yeah, TED Talk. I want to explain and make the case for, and then I'm going to send it out for playtesting for people to actually play and see how it is. So I guess let's get to it. So before we actually get to what I want to talk about, I want to sort of walk you through. I want to walk you guys through some of my thinking so that it sort of makes sense. Everything above board, everything. Let me use this presentation. Oh man, the pressure's on. All right. So I want to I want to walk you guys through what my thinking is and why I'm doing what I'm doing or not doing what I'm not doing. Okay. So how can you so the goal is to increase fun. The goal is to increase fun. And it increasing for like, yeah, oh, this is a great game. Make it more fun. Like that's not always an easy thing to do. Making a game that took many, many months, many years to develop simply more fun without any side effects is not something that's easy to do. So what does a typical game night look like? This line is sort of the level of fun. Like you start and you're like excited to get going, but maybe it's a sort of slow burn to like, all right, let's just start. We're getting into it. Everybody's settling in. It's fun, and then there's some downbeat. Right, so something happens, and then you sort of pull out of that, and you're like, oh, there's this really big, super exciting thing, and then you sort of come down from that, and then like maybe there's like another small downbeat, and then like you maybe I love to end with like with a cliffhanger. So that is sort of like a rough, abstract, arbitrary view of like what a game session looks like. So if that is what a game session looks like, then the average fun, like the average. Let me see if I can do it without breaking it. The average level of fun, that's not right. Command tab? Not command tab. Shift tab. Nope, not shift tab. Give me 1 second. I forgot how to. Command tilde. Okay, or command backspace. Okay. Break in things. Okay, so if this is how fun the game is, then like the average, if we wanted to increase the average level of fun, if we wanted to increase, so like with this really low and this really high, and like the average level of fun is like maybe somewhere around here, right? So if we wanted to increase this average of fun, units of fun per time, then we can do one of two things. You can increase the peaks, right? So like making this like ultimately fun moment, like more ultimately fun, that's gonna be hard to do. Like there is a peak level of fun. Like it's never going to be as fun as the funnest thing you can imagine, right? It could be like an 8 or 9 out of 10, maybe like a 10 out of 10, but we're not getting it to 11, right? So like there is a ceiling to how much fun you can have with RPGs. You can have more of them. Someone show Evan Miro. I don't know what that is. You can have more of them, but like increasing this node from here to here is fine. But the best thing you can do, the easiest thing to do, is that you can fill in the troughs. So you can increase the peaks, which can tend to be much, much harder to do. But you can fill in the troughs. So think of it like a day at like Disneyland or Disney World or Universal or whatever theme park you like. So you could make the rides like faster or bigger falls, or like you can make the rides more exciting. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you, Derek. So you can make the rides more exciting, but that could cost millions and millions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars to make the rides more exciting, or like add a new ride. Like you could do that, but increasing the peaks can be very hard to do. So what do theme parks do? So what is a trough of a theme park? A trough of a theme park is waiting in line for the ride. So what do? They don't just have you like in a queue. So they have you in a queue, but the queue sort of snakes back and forth. So you can never see like how long the line is, so that there isn't this sense of like, oh, look how long I have to wait. That's a pretty big trough. And not only that, they make the queue, they make the line interesting. They'll have like a story, like you're going to the raptor thing, and there's like raptors around, and like there's things to look at as you're going and doing things. So they make the trough, so they can't make the trough at the waiting in line as like getting on the thing, right? But they can make the trough from here to maybe here, right? And then that, like if you've ever gotten a 0 on some assignment in school, fixing that 0, even from a 0 to a 50, like will do way more for your average score than like making your 90 into a 95 or a 99, right? So doing just that will increase the fun of the game far more than like trying to increase the peak of it. Does that make sense? You guys let me know if that makes sense. So this is a common thing in um, this is just a common thing with experiences in general, and RPGs are no different. So if we can fill in the troughs, so for video games, this is loading times or like other frustrating, work things like accounting kind of things that some video games have you do. So if you can fill in these troughs, that is much easier and much faster to do than trying to increase the peaks. So, makes sense. Okay, so what is the trough of Nimble? What is the most unfun thing? Thankfully, there's not too many. And whenever I'm reading an in-depth review, there is one thing that comes up more often than anything. This is basically the only thing. And I can guess before I even read it that this thing is going to be like, this is great and this great and this great and this sucks. This is great and this great and this great. And like the one thing that people have friction about is monster armor. How monster armor works. So how it works, I think I have. I think I have it open. So how monster armor works is most monsters are unarmored, but some tougher foes might have medium armor. They take damage only from only the dice rolled. They ignore all damage modifiers unless they're negative. That makes sense. Okay, so regular monsters, they're unarmored. You just roll your dice, you add your modifiers, bingo bango. That's how much damage you do. For medium monsters with medium armor, you just roll the dice. That's how much damage they take. And then monsters with heavy armor, they take damage from half of the dice only. Okay, so unarmored guys, they take this much. Medium armored guys, they take this much, and heavy armor guys, they take that much. Makes sense. Like that's not terrible. And a lot of people, to be fair, I did a poll, and a lot of people really actually like the armor system how it is. But for the people who have something they don't like, it is always this. It is always this. So for me, the armor system is clever. I think it's clever, right? And clever mechanics can be fun, but they're not necessarily fun. So there is a subset, maybe like a third, according to the poll that I did, maybe a third of people, like it doesn't really matter how arcane or strange the mechanic is, if it's like unique or if the math works, like the flavor of it doesn't really matter. So that I feel like is what the situation that we have here. So it is clever. So if you're familiar at all with Magic the Gathering, and you don't have to be in order for this illustration to make sense, there is this one mechanic called day and night. And there's a bunch of like stupid mechanics in Magic the Gathering, but there's a lot of really good mechanics also. There's one really stupid mechanic called the day night. So like If you play like a werewolf card, werewolves care about whether it's day or nighttime. Okay, and that makes sense. It's kind of cool. And there's like these other cards, but like normally when you're playing, you don't ever have to track day or night. But the moment someone plays just one card that cares about day night for the rest of the entire game, everybody is play. You have to like count how many things you do every single turn because if as it becomes day, blah blah blah. If a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. And if a player casts at least 2 spells during their own turn, it becomes day next turn. So every single turn, you have to pay attention and track this thing that you normally never have to track. And this mechanic is clever. It is clever. Okay, so I guess you like I get like but does it make sense in the fantasy? Like I guess you could sort of explain light armor is unarmored. Unarmored light armor, same thing. We call this fiddly, yes, fiddly. Where there's a lot of like game actions to do one to figure out one outcome. I hate fiddly things. Keep it drive day night Nimble. Yeah, so like I like to play commander, and like there was this one card that would have been great for my commander deck, but it has like this day night function on it to so that not only do like me, like I and my opponent, we have to track it, but with commander there's 4 people, so everybody has to track this for everything that they do. And with RPGs, like you can have like more than 4 people, which is like even worse. So, is this clever? Yes, this is very clever. But is it fun? I think it is a resounding no that this is fun. It is not fun. One because it's something I should have to track. But also it doesn't really make sense in world. Like you could explain it, I guess. Just like I could explain, like, and I've explained this, like, it's sort of abstracted, like, some weapons, medium armor, reduces damage a little bit, and heavy armor reduces it more. You can sort of explain it away, but how it like only the dice, like, what is the fantasy behind the dice damage and the modifier damage? Like, there isn't really a fantasy difference behind it. Like, the dice for, like, the axe is, like, the axe itself, the modifier is, like, how strong I am, I guess? So, there's, like, some difference, but if you're, like, as strong as me, like, versus being as strong as Hercules, like, both of us swinging a hand axe would deal the same amount of damage against a medium armored creature. So like there's this bit of discontinuity, this bit of friction here. Does it work mechanically, math wise? Yes. Does it work fantasy wise? I don't think so. At least not as well as it could. Okay, so like day night, if a player casts no spells on their turn, okay, so I guess like you do more things during the day. So like if you're not doing a lot of stuff on your turn, then it must be nighttime. And then if you do like 2 things, well, if you're doing stuff, well, that means it's day. And like it actually would make sense to me if this was like flipped. Like if you're doing things, I don't know, whatever. Um, so is this a clever mechanic? Yes. But is it a fun mechanic? No. Okay. So mechanics that make sense in world are what we call sticky, right? So like Magic has a mechanic called trample, where like if you have a dude and you have another dude and like this guy's attacking and this guy blocks, and then if he normally like it just blocks the damage and like you're like you don't take any damage, like your monster blocked for you. But if he has trample, he can like hit this guy and trample like and keep going, like he could like, so that makes sense. So here's an example of a more sensible mechanics like food. You sacrifice this and you gain life. Okay, so you eat. Oh, okay. Like, well, why would you sacrifice this? Oh, I get it. I'm eating the food and it's making me better. Like, that mechanic makes sense. Only one person cares about this. Only one person needs to track it, and it's easy and it makes sense. And I can just remember, oh yeah, food. Like because when I feel bad, I eat food and I feel better. And then like when I eat food, I don't have it any longer, right? So all of this makes sense. Or monarch. Okay, at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Okay, so this is sort of like you get a reward. Maybe this is like your taxes, or like you are the monarch, you are more wealthy than other people, right? Okay, that kind of makes sense. But whenever a creature deals damage to you, that player becomes a monarch. Okay, like they are like stealing the throne or they're stealing the crown or whatever. Okay, like thematically, this sort of makes sense. And like the monarch like this universally sort of thought as like a cool mechanic in in Magic. You're talking. Don't confuse interesting with fun and the importance of resonance. If I knew what some of those things meant, I'd probably agree with you. Um, yeah, Derek is a few steps ahead of me. Okay, so mechanics that make sense in world are sticky. So what is some of the feedback I've received about this? Like it's hard to remember and it's hard to understand, which I don't want. For a third of the players, no matter what rule it was, they'd like it and it'd be fun and like they'd be able to get it and like you people you can't understand it's easy. So there's like maybe a third of the players who like will just get it no matter what it is. There's a third of players who can like they'll tolerate it, and the third of players who will just like they won't like. So like there's but can we make it? And a third of the players who like will like it whatever it is. Okay, so can we get more of those people on board? So also, what else is there? What else can we do? If anything is confusing, well, a confused player is not having fun generally, or at least they're not having as much fun as they could. Like if you're ever playing a session and the players say like, well, why in the world are we even doing any of this? Like they're not having nearly as much fun as the person who says like, aha, I have found you, the person who did the thing for my backstory, and like that player is having way more fun, right? But the person who's like doesn't even know like, all right, is this the d20? Is this a d20? And you want me to roll it? Okay, I got a 1. What does that mean? Like that person is just not having fun. Oh, Mark Rosewater. Okay, Maro, yeah. Yeah, yeah. He's got a lot of blog posts and he's talking about a lot of these things. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that was his name. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Monarch is fun. So if someone is confused, so a notorious example from like another game is banding. So I'll just read it, and like I know how to play Magic. I've played Magic for years, decades, and like I don't quite know how banding works. So any creature with banding and up to one without can attack in a band. Bands are blocked as a group. If any creatures with banding you control are blocked or being blocked by a creature, you divide that creature's combat damage, not its controller, among any of the creatures it's being blocked by or is blocking. So, that didn't make sense. You're not alone if you feel like you have to read that a second time. I don't blame you. So, um, a confused player is not having as much fun as they could be having. But there is a subset of players who enjoy these kinds of mechanics just because it's hard. Like my brother-in-law, he made like a banding deck just because just so he could attack. Banding is easy. Like look, it's just like you just look up line 2 of chart A, and then you go to like form 5, subsection C, and like you like my accountant would love it. But like there is a certain subset of players who really enjoy this kind of noodly thing, but they would also enjoy other things too, right? So like if 10% of your audience like really enjoys this and 90% of it hates it or just doesn't like it, can we make something that this 10% would also like, and then this 90% would like? Like can we do that? Can we get that? Okay. So another thing, comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. So for how monster armor currently works, some classes can too easily ignore armor. Okay, so like the Berserker, since most of their damage comes from damage dice, and the cheat because they can crit very, very easily or more regularly, they can pretty well ignore armor. So like if this bar is how much damage you normally do, versus medium armor, like the Berserk, he's dealing like 2 less damage or 3 less damage. Like he can basically ignore it. In heavy armor, they're still dealing tons of damage, and the cheat can basically just ignore heavy armor also. But for like the hunter, they're dealing like they're dealing great damage against unarmored guys, and then you for medium and heavy, like they basically it's too punishing or too frustrating. They can't meaningfully interact with it. Um, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I don't want to boil it down to a point where it is simplistic. I want it to be. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so what is the solution? So the solution has to meet all of these things. It has to work with the existing math. I have zero interest. I've less than zero interest in rebalancing all the spells and redoing the monsters and rebalancing all of the heroes. Like that is not going to happen. The math is solid. I don't want anything to affect that. It has to be fast and intuitive. Again, this is something we're playtesting. This is in a stone, but I think I have a good direction. It has to be fast and intuitive. Okay, fast to perform at the table, so that you can get more units of fun per time spent. Right. Um, if you can have like a cool strategic tactical thing that takes 10 minutes, are you going to have less fun or more fun if that just takes 1 minute instead and still be as cool and interesting as tactical? Okay, like most people would prefer the thing that takes 1 minute, right? Because you can do 10 times as many things in that same amount of time. It must make sense in world. Sorry if you guys can hear my stomach growling. I was working on this presentation early, didn't have breakfast. So it has to make sense in world. This makes it sticky. It makes it make sense. It makes it feel fair. It's not fair to me as super macho Hulk dude with an axe, and I'm swinging this thing, haha, and he's swinging this axe, and I deal the same amount of damage as like weak, noodly armed wizard guy who's swinging the same axe. So it has to make sense in world. It shouldn't have to rebalance classes. It should have zero friction or as close to zero friction between the GMs and heroes as possible. Okay. Sorry, guys. It must not flatten the strategy or tactics. So this is what Derek was talking about, race to the bottom. I don't want to lose the tactics and strategy that having different armor has, right? So like I don't want to just have like, I just ignore armor, we'll just have more hit points, because that has a different math curve, and that has that changes lots of things. Maybe if I drink some water, my stomach will stop growling. It must maintain the thematic differences between the different classes. I do like how different classes can interact with armor differently, but it shouldn't be so stark where some can ignore it and others feel like they can't interact with it. So there is this fun zone in here where like I'm better dealing with armor than you, but you're better at other situations than me. But there shouldn't be these situations where like this area is fun. Like I'm better at this, you're better at that, and like we can sort of have fun. But like this, where like I can ignore it and like you can't interact with it. Like so, like those areas are unfun. So if we can tighten it a bit, then we can make sure everybody's having fun without sacrificing too much. Okay. It must maintain the thematic differences between the classes. It must not drag combat out. So combat should. Combat generally takes 3 or 4 rounds, sometimes more, sometimes less, but, heavy armor, now it takes twice as long. It shouldn't do that. It should change how combat feels without making combat actually take longer to do. Not just bag hit points. It must not make a GM constantly reference the stat block. So a lot of people have been suggesting, give them, this, and like each monster can have like different levels of this, and like to where the GM every time this monster is attacked, like, oh, was this a 12? Was this a 13? Was this a 7? Like, I don't want to do that. The protecting the GM's RAM, so to speak, is very important. It should encourage teamwork. It should encourage teamwork. It should give the sense of actual progression and not the illusion of it. It should not be a lock to track, and it shouldn't have a lot of exceptions. This is what armor is. Not this is what it is, except for this and this, but this other situation, this and this and this. Okay, so all of that. So this is a tall order, I get, but I think I got there. I think I got there thinking about it for a long time. I've been reading through the different books. I've got them all open on the table. Now I want to show you what the solution is. I want to show you what the solution is, and I want you guys to tell me when you see it. So I was flipping through the hero's book, just thinking of ideas. Flipping through the GM guide and core rules. What can we do that sort of ticks all these boxes? Um, what can we do that ticks all these boxes? That everybody's gonna like and zero people will complain about. Maybe that's a little bit exaggerated, but you guys let me know when you can see it. Of course I'm being facetious. I'll tell you in just a sec. Um, yes, sir. I'm just getting caught up in chat. Yep, not dragging it out is key. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not easy. And yeah, all this has to be done with care. But I think we got there. I definitely think we got there. Okay, so as I was reading through the Oathsworn, I saw something interesting. Their level 2 ability, Zealot. Zealot says, whenever you attack with a melee weapon, you can spend mana up to the highest unlock spell tier, and you can choose one for each mana spent. Condemning Strike, deal +5 radiant damage. Or Blessed Aim, decrease your target's armor by 1 step for this attack. So what does this mean? The core of the math. So if you've ever done one time I met. So I like to read science books and stuff. So in one time I met a scientist that I really look up to, and I read his book, and I was like, "Ooh, I've got some great questions to ask him when I meet him." Like I want to ask you about like this fine detail about like this science thing. Um, and I asked the scientist this. He was like, "I don't even remember writing that. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about." And I was like, "What? Like, you wrote this book?" So, if you've never written or designed something very, very big, like a book or a game system or something, it's easy to forget what you did a year or two ago. And I forgot that I wrote this. um, because I have in my mind like all of the previous versions and iterations and like all of my other ideas that have never even been published. So I have all of that. So anyway, uh, the core of the math is built such that each step of armor is worth 5 damage. Is what this ability says. So the core of the math says that each step of armor is equivalent to 5 damage. And for me, this was something I was already thinking, but for me, this was an aha moment. This works for the math. So the current solution is this. All these words. It's not much, but it's more words than I would like. What I would like to playtest is this, and I'm going to explain why, and I'll answer questions and stuff. But this is what I want to playtest, and I think this ticks all of the boxes. Um, uh, can you understand it at a glance? Are there any questions? Is I can remember this much more easily than I can remember and understand this. So medium armor, -5 damage. Heavy armor, -10 damage. Does it make sense in world? Yeah. I hit you for 7. I have medium armor. Oh, you took 2. I hit you for 7. I have heavy armor. I ignore your damage. Oh yeah, that makes sense. You're heavily armored. Okay, it makes sense. It seems fair. Let's keep going. Okay, but what about this? It doesn't scale. So at level 1, medium armor does -5 damage and heavy armor does -10 damage. At level 20, medium armor does -5 damage and heavy armor is -10 damage. Shouldn't it scale? So a lot of people were saying like, well, what if you do like the level, like the amount of armor they have is equal to the monster's level. So if a monster's level 3, it has -3 armor, and if it's level 15, it has -15 armor. But then again, like the GM is going to have to track what level each monster is and constantly look at the stat blocks and remember all these. And basically, you have armor is this, but you have like 20 different exceptions to how much armor does. Okay. No, so crits still ignore armor. So that is still that is unchanged. Okay. Okay, so I want to show you that yes, it doesn't scale, but this is a feature and not a bug. I want to show you something. How much if you look at a level 4 monster, he is on average, or it is on average, dealing 18 damage. And a level 5 monster is on average dealing 19 damage. And a level 19 monster's on average dealing 52 damage per turn. And a level 20 monster dealing 54 damage per turn. So the core math of the game does not scale exponentially. It scales pretty linearly. So this not scaling is actually not a bug. I think that this is a feature. And here's why. Um, so it's not nearly as much of a problem as you would think. So if you have a heavily armored monster, has like 190 hit points, um, and if on average you're dealing, let me just pull up this is the creator's kit. On average, a hero is going to be dealing 64 damage per turn at level 20. So instead of 64 across two actions, you'll be dealing 44 damage, right? So that is exactly what we would expect. So at no point in the level curve is -5 or -10 damage something that you would just happily throw away. So like it always matters. So it doesn't scale to oblivion. It scales such that you feel like you are getting stronger and better able to deal with the world as it is. So this is maybe it's a hot take, I don't know, but for me, the world scaling with you is not fun. So this is why initiative, like the breakpoints for initiative, single digit, double digit, 20 or more. It's always that. So as you level up, you get better at initiative. You get better at how you start combat. The DC for assess is static, so that when you're lower levels, like it's harder for you to assess. That makes sense. And then as you get better as a hero, you get better at that objectively. So it's my opinion that heroes should actually get better and not simply this illusion of getting stronger. Okay, so can a level 10 hero deal with this armor better than a level 1 hero? Yes, I think that's a good thing. But that said, can a level 1 hero is a level 1 hero unable to deal with this armor altogether? No, a level 1 hero could still do it, but it would be more of a challenge. Could a level 10 hero completely ignore the armor system because they've just scaled beyond this and they just can ignore? No, like a level 10 hero will still care about this, and it is in this sort of sweet spot of mattering. Okay. Okay, so let's. What about X? What about X class? So heroes should actually get better, and they shouldn't just feel like they're getting better. There shouldn't just be this illusion, like, oh, all right, in 5e, like, well, all right, we're level 10 now. I still have to roll an 11 or higher on this d20 to hit. And I permanently, like, whether I'm level 1 or level 20, I always have to roll 11 or higher. I don't like that. I don't like that because the ACs and DCs and all that always scale up with you. I think that's dumb. Okay, well, what about this class? How does this impact this class? Okay. So I think with this playtest, I think a couple of things do need to be tweaked slightly. So I think I do need to shift just a little bit when medium and heavy monsters are introduced, and that's easy for me to do. So I think a level 1 party, level 2 party probably should not encounter a heavy armored creature. I think that's fair. So like medium and heavy armor could, first one at level 1, you're learning the system, you just deal damage, that's how much damage you take. And then at level 2, level 3, then you can introduce medium armor. Ooh, okay, this is like a cool tactical thing. And then maybe level 3, level 4, now you can introduce like a heavily armored monster. And like, okay, now we have this cool landscape of tactics, right? So instead of having like a heavily armored creature at level 2, I would just shift it to level 3 or level 4. Or if it's a level 2 monster, I would just give him medium instead of heavy. So like that is an easy change. It shouldn't impact anything else. Something that I think I'm going to do also, just semi-related to this, is assess. Reducing the assess DC down from 12 to 10. I think 10 is easier to remember also. But this also more closely follows the expected success and failure rate of weapons. So at level 1, you should have like +4, maybe +5 to something. And with that math, you should be able to succeed on a roll of 6 or more. So like you should be able to succeed 75 to 80% of the time. So you should reliably be able to do this, and more reliably with your better skills. More reliably with with the skills that you're better at, but you should be able to reliably expect to do this. So I think lowering the DC of assess from 12 to 10, especially with this new tweak, I think it'll be used slightly more often. I don't think as it's I don't think every combat or every round or every turn certainly, but more often I think. And then the help reaction more clearly worded. It can be used to grant advantage or to give a reroll. Okay, so what are some of the benefits of this? And I'll get to chat in just a little bit, and I'll answer like right, like, hey, this. Have you thought about this, or this sucks because of this, and we'll talk about it. This reduces friction during play, so the player can always roll their dice and add their thing. There's never a situation where it's you roll your dice and add your thing, except here and here and here. So exceptions are hard for the human mind to grasp with. Can we grasp them? Yes, but the fewer we need, the fewer we have, the better. So reducing the friction during play is an important thing. Let me just zoom in. So reducing friction during play. I got 12. So the player says, I got 12. Oh, this guy has medium armor. Does this blah, 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 blah? Oh, wait, let me subtract out the thing. Oh, I got 8. Okay. All right. And so like this sort of back and forth. The way it was designed to avoid all of that. But practically at the table, a lot of tables, they sort of have this back and forth where they have to ask, a bunch of times back and forth. So the player can always just say the total. And then the GM can just say, the player could say, haha, I deal 11 damage. And I, as a GM, I would say, the monster takes 1 damage. And they're like, oh no! And like, now they know this guy has heavy armor. Okay. So it reduces the friction during play. Okay. The classes are more evenly affected, not flatly affected, but more evenly affected. Some are still better or worse at dealing with armor, but none of them should feel like they can simply ignore it. And none of them should feel like they're completely helpless against it. So this was the initial goal, but that initial goal failed just a little bit. It rewards dual wielding a bit more, making it a stronger option versus sword and shield. So Nimble shields are very, very good. Shields are very, very good. And then two-handed weapons are very, very good. They deal the most damage. They're the most reliably hit. So they are very, very good. So this rewards smaller weapons and dual wielding specifically much better, making it a more attractive option versus sword and shield. So sword and shield, I think, is currently the best, as written. This further rewards smaller die sizes versus armor, and I'll show you the math in just a second, how it looks. And D4s actually outperform D12s versus heavy armor. If under certain circumstances. So I'll show you that in a second. This makes help and assess much more valuable. Not required, but you should feel more rewarded for doing those things. And like the role playing and the teamwork and all this, that's exactly what we want to incentivize. We don't want to force people to do that, but if I want to do that, I want to feel rewarded for doing that. Support classes are more valuable. Also, teamwork is more rewarded. You can have armored foes more often if the armor system doesn't suck as much, right? So making certain character options more valuable. So like as a cheat, if I pick like Sunder armor, but like nobody else can deal with the armor very well, and then like maybe the GM is just gonna say like, all right, we'll just have like fewer armored monsters than recommended. That makes me feel bad because like as a cheat, I can deal with armored guys really well, and I picked this ability so that I could do this, and but I don't get to use this ability as much as I would like to. Okay, so it makes more the character options more valuable, and increases the value of bigger multi-action attacks and spells versus common attacks and cantrips. So if you have a heavily armored guy, every attack you make, he subtracts 10 damage off of. So if I'm going to do one big spell, he subtracts just 10 damage, unless I crit, and crit ignores it. But if I do two smaller cantrips, then he's going to reduce that by 20. So right now, cantrips are very, very competitive versus the tiered spells that take more actions and cost mana, they cost resources. So a lot of people are casting cantrips more often than maybe they should. So the tiered spells, without inflating their numbers, all of a sudden with armored monsters, because I'm making one attack that's dealing a bunch of damage rather than two attacks that are dealing that same amount of damage spread out across two different things. So I do like a lot of these knock-on effects. These other benefits are I think really, really cool. Okay. let's take a look at the math. Because this is not a change that I've made willy nilly. So D4, D6, D8, D10, D12. So the first column in all of them is how much damage is done on average, of course, with versus an unarmored creature, and it's exactly what you would expect. Smaller weapon deals the least. Then the bigger weapons deal more. That's exactly that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what we should expect. Okay, bigger weapon deals more damage. Yeah, that feels about right. In 5e, it's way more tilted than that because this is taking into account crits and stuff. So it's a linear. It's linear. Well, it's linear this way, um, but it's more flat than other games because the way the crits work. Versus medium armor. So if you look at the second column and all these medium armor, so that line is much more flat now. Because on crit, because the D4 weapons, they are able to ignore the armor 25% of the time. So now it starts to flatten out. And then versus heavy armor, this third bar, now it sort of inverts. Now the D4 is better at heavy armor than all of the others, except for the biggest weapon, the D12. Okay. So it goes from the curve goes from this to inverting for the smaller weapons slightly. But if you want to eke out as much gains as you can, then I think this is cool. The cool thing is that if you're able to figure out a way to get advantage or something similar to advantage, if you're able to get help, or if you're able to assess, or an ally is able to do something else, now what happens is that the D4 is able, because you go from a 25% chance to roughly 50% chance of critting and ignoring the armor. So all of a sudden now the D4 with advantage is dealing basically is treating heavily armored creatures as if they are unarmored. And they're dealing more damage than all of the other weapons. And then it's a bit of a U curve. And then the D4 and D6 weapons, they deal 5 and 4.3 damage respectively. And then the D12 dealing 4 damage on average. So all of a sudden, like, advantage matters way, way more. So now I'm not just looking for ways. I'm just not going to attack because that is not a good option. That's not the most efficient option versus heavily armored creatures. You have to like set up a good attack and get one good big attack. So how should heavy armor feel? It should feel like fighting Smaug, right? From The Hobbit. Like impervious, like we're dealing 0 damage, and then all of a sudden you get him where that scale is missing, right? Now I'm dealing full damage. That's how it should feel, sort of. I like the fantasy of it. So we're doing 0, 0, 0, 0, and then all of a sudden 13, right? So with regular unarmored guys, you can just sort of put your head down and just attack. But with armor, you have to think of ways to like get an advantage. Like I have this dagger, but I can't just stab plate a thing of plate. It's never going to work. It's going to deal no damage. But if I can figure out a way to like position him or position myself to get in between some of these plates, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. So I really like what it does to the math. I really, really like what it does to the math. Okay, so that is the pitch. That is the thinking behind it. That is thinking behind it. And so what I'm going to be playtesting is monsters with medium armor, -5 damage. Monsters with heavy armor, -5 damage. Again, why is this? Because that is already built into the math of the game. That is the assumption of the value of these different kinds of armor. It's already built into the math of the game. But not only that, -10 is exceedingly easy to math. So is this math? So like what I wanted to avoid with the initial system, the initial system was having to add mathematical operations for each for each attack. But if we're going to be doing this, they're not going to be attacking 3 times per round because the math just it's just like it just won't work, right? So there's going to be fewer attacks overall, but each attack is going to be having a much higher value. So I talk about this a lot. The problem with the 5e fighter, they have a bunch of really low value attacks. Extra attack, and then they're all sort of low, and then whatever. So like a bunch of low value attacks is not as fun. as like fewer, more powerful attacks because these are more interesting and they take less time. These are less interesting and they take more time. So we want things to not be short and wide. We want things to be narrow and tall. That is a much more fun gameplay pattern. At least if other people are waiting on you, right? If you're playing a game by yourself and it doesn't matter, that's a different story. But if other people are waiting on you, and my fun is waiting on your fun, then we want to make sure it's taking up as little time as possible. We're maximizing this. It's like the balloon popping rather than the like letting the air out of the balloon very, very slowly. Okay, so let's go to your questions. I want to see what questions you guys have. What thoughts? What questions? Chud is here. Chud. Hey, Chud. Okay, so crits, like how to the ways to ignore armor is still unaffected. You can still crit and ignores the armor, so it makes it feel like nothing, 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 bam! Or like I'm dealing 2, I'm doing 3, I'm dealing 4, and then I'm dealing 12. Like that feels really, really cool. It's good that it's asymmetrical. It doesn't affect players. Yeah, so players can just say 12, I dealt 12 damage. Okay. Yep, exactly. Wouldn't this mean that a class with an average damage under 10 on average would on average never deal damage? Okay, so there are. Let me go to here. So I started putting things together, and then there was just like so many things. So I started to put together a slide that I didn't actually end up using, of how different ways different classes could deal with it, deal with armor. This new system, and I just stopped because every class had like so many ways to do it. Okay, so. How could a berserker deal with it? Just dealing more damage, like more fury dice, more big weapons. So by round 2, like they have multiple fury dice. In there, they can deal enough damage to where they're dealing like 4, 5, 3, 6. Like they're dealing chunks of damage. Alternatively, if they wanted to, they could, dual wield smaller weapons. They could pick abilities like Death Blow. The cheat, obviously, crits with Vicious Opportunist. They can center armor. They can use Low Blow or amidst all this commotion. They can use Pocket Sand. Like they can blind guys in order to get advantage and do different things. So different classes have so many different ways to deal with this that this is not a problem. This is just not a problem. By the time you get to level 2 or 3, like you have so many ways to deal with it, but you have to deal with it, right? So you have to use different tools in your toolbox. You have to use different tools in your toolbox. You can't just blindly attack, or at least you're rewarded for being more thoughtful about it. All right, cool. What are the players supposed to do differently when a monster has armor? So they're supposed to use teamwork. So maybe instead of the commander, like, all right, I'm just going to attack 3 times. Instead, maybe he'll attack once, and then he's going to assess. He's going to create an opening for his ally to. So the next attack that his ally makes, then he's going to have advantage on it. So now we're teamworking together. Or I'm going to try to figure out a way to trip him, or blind him, or do other things, grapple him, so that my allies all have advantage. So like we're teamworking now instead of just. Oh yeah, just treat heavy armor as a bag of hit points. Hey Judd, it can easily be homebrewed. Yeah, if you want to have like some dude with 2, like you could definitely do that. But I think that juice is probably not worth the squeeze. Brilliant. Yes, solid argument. Great. I really like it. For me, the difference with medium armor was always a bit yeah. Now included modifier. Now included not. Now not include it. It is fine as an alternate rule, and yes, the cool thing is because none of the classes have changed, because the monsters aren't changing, because nothing else has changed. If you like it how it is, just keep playing how it is. But I think I'm going to playtest this as the new default rule. It matters less for higher levels, yes, but it still matters a lot. It matters a lot. Low level. So I've already mathed all that out, so I'm not concerned about that. I would not send a heavily armored monster against like a level 1 or 2 party. Is basically it. But beyond that, it is fine. So you have to do less damage versus a heavily armored monster also because they have like 40% fewer hit points. So just 1 or 2 really good hits, and like that's half their life. So crits matter much more. So a crit against like a level 5 unarmored guy might do like 20% of its life, but a crit against the same level heavily armored guy is going to do like 40 or 50% of its life. So you need fewer attacks to hit. So it's not just like we're dragging combat out longer. The current so I'm testing this out as a new default rule, just so that people can test it. But if everything goes the way I expect, then we'll see. Yep. Okay. Yes. So those two things, it would just be one. Spend a mana to deal 5 damage. Is all it would be. Heavy armored players take no. This is only for monsters. But no, I've already mathed it out, so it should not be a problem. But this is why we're playtesting. Making armor static -5, -10 feels more like math extra step instead of manipulating the initial dice rolls, living out some math in the process. So some of the other things, so like telling someone, oh, like this is heavy armor, so you have disadvantage. So like that is like a friction of back and forth between the players. So some of the alternatives are like, you can have the damage, which scales, which is both a good and a bad thing. I would say it's more of a bad thing, like the perfect scaling of having. But having the damage is a harder mathematical operation than subtracting 10. 27. Okay, that's 17. Or 5. So these are mathematical operations, but there are fewer of them, and they are about the easiest mathematical operations you can make. So it's never going to be 7 or 8 or like anything like this. So like whenever my son is doing his math, like he will always do like his timetables. He'll do the zeros and the tens and like the fives like first, and then he'll like for the threes and the sevens, like the sevens timetables, he'll like, all right, I need to think on these for a little while. So like certain numbers are just easier to manipulate than others. Negated damage equals longer combat, not necessarily. So we have to take into account like the whole context of the encounter. Assess DC 10 might motivate the players more. Yeah, it should. So assessing the current success rate was closer to like 60 to 80%, and I really wanted it to be closer to like 75 to 95% of success rate. So like the chance to fail, but not like expecting to fail. Doing math instead of envisioning armor makes it that not all my damage comes through. I'm not sure what that means. Help its reaction after the or before? Yeah. Yep. Definitely feels more nimble than current monster. Yes, I would definitely agree. Like if like you can tell just by looking at it. You can tell just by looking at it. So one thing that I was thinking is if oh, you guys can't see, if this was the initial rule of how it's printed, nobody would be asking, oh, can we change it to this? I would say 0 people would want to change it to this if that was if this was the default how it was initially released. And to me, that is a sign of a good change. That is a sign of a good change. I would say 0 people would ask for this. And like it wouldn't even be a thought. It would just be like, I like this about Nimble, I like this about Nimble, I like this is cool, this is cool. And there just wouldn't be that, oh, but this sucks. Help equals advantage is not basically the same as a reroll. Yeah, so you can help them before they roll or after they roll. It doesn't matter. So it is smarter to do it afterward, but takes like a beat longer. So you just like roll 1 additional die. Yep, just for monsters. Sata boss, if you have questions about the players' defenses and all that, we can talk about that later, or let me know specifically what your thoughts are. Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of people didn't mind the old version, but also at the same time, a lot of people like wouldn't mind the old version, like no matter what it was. So there is maybe like a third of people is like, oh, this is well, yeah, whatever. So nice. Yeah, please let me know how it goes. Must you get damage reduction all the time? Because yeah, great question. Because for heroes, that is an interesting trade-off to make for the GM. Deciding when to defend and how much to defend for 12 monsters is like not a cool tactical thing. It is annoying, and the heroes knowing what they need to do in order to overcome the armor is fun. It is a good thing. So there's an interesting story about. So there's an interesting story about the development of Slay the Spire. So if you're not familiar with Slay the Spire, um, initially, so like the Slay the Spire, you like this is your guy, and you can choose to like play defense cards. Let me see if I can find a little bit better example. Let me see if I can. So this one. So like you have cards in your hand, you can play defense cards or you can play attack cards. And like I didn't actually think of the analogy before, but it's fairly close to that. But you can know like what like you can tell before you play your cards that this guy is going to defend for 7 damage or 10 damage or whatever. So that like you know ahead of time. So like initially in development of Slay the Spire, what the monster was going to do on their turn was secret. Like you didn't know ahead of time, so you couldn't really plan ahead. You couldn't really strategize. But once they said, "Hey, this guy's going to attack you for 16. This guy's going to attack you for 11. This guy's going to defend," all of that. Then the game became like way more tactically interesting, way more fun, because the choices I make matter. It's like why would I like if this guy has heavy armor, but he's not going to use it when I attack him, like how do I know if I'm want to use like this attack versus that attack, right? So monsters should reliably do the thing and not overly tax the GM. So it has to, because it's a game, it has to be somewhat imbalanced, not imbalanced, asymmetric. Hope so that makes sense. I had to pivot my 100 to will base, which was great deal. Which is great deal with armored enemies. Yep. Yeah. Yep. All the explanations and the math makes it have more sense. Yep. I think so. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. Jonas the Iron Hulk, the thick skinned with spikes ogre with ancient spell imbued mega armor and tower shield. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you double heavy or super heavy or whatever. If you wanted to, I'm not going to have that level of granularity in the official rules or any of the official monsters. I think 5 and 10 is plenty. But if you wanted to homebrew that, you could. It's Cinnabots. If you're going to clarify what you mean by this, then I can address it. Now, light armor can be 2 or 3. You could. I think that level of granularity is probably not worth it. But if you enjoy that, then you can easily do that. Because if it's like 2 or 3, like you can just put your head down and ignore it. It has to be substantial enough to be worth the math. If you're just subtracting 1 every time, that's not substantial enough to matter. Like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? So you're doing this mathematical operation every single time someone attacks, but it kind of doesn't really matter. Like if they do plus or minus 1 damage, but plus or minus 5, like that's one mathematical operation for like 5 smaller attacks. Like so, you want to make sure that if you're going to do a thing, it has to be worth it. More similar now, yeah. Nice. Yeah. It may feel like to hit rolls are back in town when armor blocks all damage. Some classes will have more do nothing actions than others. So that is fair. So the question is like, so like what is the alternative? The alternative is like what we have now, and I think we don't. Is that not there in the current iteration? I think it is, and I think it's worse in the current iteration for a variety of reasons. So like the hit rolls are back. It's more that, so like the problem with the hit rolls is that you don't really have any control over it. It's just sort of like a random flip. But this is you can choose, okay, instead of this weapon, instead of rolling to hit with a d20, I'm going to roll to hit with a d30. I'm going to roll to hit with a, like, if in 5e you could like choose to roll different dice to hit, or you can choose to do these other things to increase your odds to hit before you do it. Well, that's cool, right? So this isn't just like I'm just gonna roll just to, and we'll just see if I get to do anything on my turn. Like you have the ability to set up a cool thing um, before you do it, or instead of casting 3 cantrips, I'm going to spend mana on this one powerful spell. So I think at very very low levels with heavy armored monsters, it could feel that way, but I'm not going to have heavy armored monsters at level 1 or 2. But beyond that, you should always be making progress. Like, but instead of 12 damage, you'll be dealing 2. So like chunk, 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 and then big, right? So I think in playtesting it'll bear out that this is a much smaller issue than it might feel like, than it might think. Um, 2 categories, because I don't want it to be so granular that there's like a 10 feels like too many. 5 feels like too many, because oh, does this guy have heavy or super heavy? Does he have medium or medium or light, extra light? Like having too much granularity, like computer games can deal with that level of granularity, but tabletop games, I need to have like certain buckets that I can categorize things in to make it easy to parse. Yep. Just start playing. Just start playing, and then let me know what you think. Yeah. With Zephyr, so there's lots of things that Zephyr can do. And we can talk more about like the specifics for different classes. But Zephyr, he still gets. So the Zephyr is different because he can just attack with his unarmed strikes, which have the D4 size weapon that they can hit and crit. But since they're adding a level, it's better for them because they don't just ignore the modifier. But their first stack is with their big weapon, so they sort of have the best of both worlds. And they have other abilities that they can use to do other things to deal with it. But again, at very, very low levels, level 1, level 2, you have fewer tools to deal with it. But by the time you're level 3 or higher, like you really, you have plenty of tools to deal with this. I don't think it's going to be too much fun. Actually not convinced until you saw the math. Okay, cool. Yeah, I really like it. So I didn't like that bigger weapons were always better under the current system. I want smaller weapons to be the best depending on the situation. And this finally does achieve that. So the current system had far better parity between small and big weapons, but it was always the case, I think mathematically, certain circumstances excluded, that just due to the reliability of how often you're able to hit, then the bigger weapons were better. But this actually, rather than just like flattening the curve more, this actually does invert it to a small degree, which like is cool. I like it. Easy to run. Will feel more like armor. Yep. Immediately start what ifing armor higher than at top levels. So like bigger monsters, they can have like just different abilities. So for instance, like the Trask that I made, he can take no more than 30 damage per round or something like that. So this isn't the only way to mitigate damage. There are other ways to mitigate damage at very, very high levels. But this should be like the constant, the thing you can rely on, the thing that the math is sort of based around. Yeah, they would just combine it to one. Yeah, each class shouldn't have identical odds or ways to deal with things, but they should all have ways to deal with things, and no class should be able to just ignore it completely. I think that's how it is currently. Yeah, it doesn't require a rework of commander weapon masteries. Yeah, it fits so perfectly with a lot of these things because that's what the math was already based on. Yeah, it's gonna bring assess forward. Yep. Yep. So yeah, against heavy armor, like you're going for one big attack per turn against these guys, rather than just burning them down. Because the way it works. And then at the higher level you get, like you can just attack more and more and more, but then you feel that sense of progression, you know. But you are still rewarded for the teamwork. I like that it can make a monster that has heavy armor and 1 hit point. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I really like that. I think that feels cool. Like glass is like hard to break. Like I can punch this as hard as I can. I probably won't break it. Um, but if I deal like just a little bit more damage, if I can punch it just a little bit harder, then the whole thing would completely shatter. Yeah. Yep. It does. It stands perfectly with math. No, I don't think so. I think that's basically just, you know, giving +5 to an attack. +5 to the next stack. Actually, I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Let me math that out. Dice Wrangler, let me math that out. That might work. That might work. If anybody if anybody wants to math that out, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I can. Yeah, that might work. Yeah, it already does help by doubling your crit chance. So yeah, so what that would do, the +5, that would have more. So assessing now, let me just go back to the thing, go back to the math. So how it is now, so assess changes rolling a 5, so this is for d6, changes rolling a 5 from 0 to 13, okay? But what that would do is that would change this 0 from a 6. It would change it to a from a 0. It would change this to a 1. This would be a 2. This would be a 3. So it would, instead of like flat, and then 2 big numbers, it would change it from, like, you know, a shallow curve, 1 big number. So that would allow for more. That would allow for fewer null turns. That would allow for fewer null turns, but it would also reduce the. Let me math it out real quick. You guys can see this, right? Okay, so here's the actual spreadsheet. So let's say assess is +5. So it's going to be equal to this +5 minus 10. Okay, so do that. Just change that to 0. Okay, yeah, so it would change it from, you know, 0, 0, 0, this to, so it would make the curve just a little bit more gradual, but it would take down this in a way that I think I don't like. I think I prefer this shape better. I think I prefer that shape better. Yeah, I think I prefer this better. I might math that out a little bit longer. I was not sold because the lack of scaling, but the math really makes me want to try it. Yeah, the lack of scaling is not a bug. I think that's actually a bonus. Yep. Cool. Yeah, you can easily homebrew it. You can easily homebrew it. Yeah, like ways to bypass armor is like ways to crit, basically, increasing chances to crit. So if they're blinded, if they're prone, if they're grappled, like you can get like 2-3 advantage on something. You can set up the situation where like everybody's critting on this guy who has heavy armor. Like that can feel like really cool. So like I don't know what your stagger mechanic is. But if the cheat can blind him, or someone can incapacitate him, or if someone can make him prone, and like you have all of these, he's prone and he's grappled, like you're rolling like 5d4 or whatever, and like, and someone else is helping, like you can essentially do that, and you can make it feel really cool. 10 is your friend. Feels more smooth if one would want scalings, maybe do something like minus level, monster party level. Yeah, I don't know. So like when I'm playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or something, and I know that when I defeat one of the divine beasts, all the monsters in the world all get stronger. Like I'm just like, maybe I just won't defeat the next divine beast yet. I'll just explore more for a while. Like I don't like how it takes me out of the fantasy of the world, I think. Um, like I was running in Skyrim past this one monster, like 3 levels ago, and but now like he's much stronger. Like I don't know. I think the world scaling with you really takes it out. I don't know. I don't like it. It does not stop being meaningful at levels 10 plus, because if you look at how many hit points monsters have, it scales very slowly, especially for heavy armor. So it goes from like 41 to 47. So like one level is like five hit points roughly, 7 hit points. So it scales very slowly. It is very much a linear damage curve. So there's no point at which um, dealing 5 or 10 less damage to these various monsters is something you could just ignore. Um, uh, Again, because of the average hero stats, at level 20, you're let's say 19 just for round numbers. You are on average dealing 60 damage per turn, but that's across 2 actions. So like 2 attacks is going to be like roughly 60 damage. But if you're attacking twice, that's actually going to be 40 damage because you're subtracting 10 twice. So you're reducing the damage by a third, which at higher levels, like that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a very big deal. Yeah. Um, okay, so having damage. So that's something we didn't talk about. So one of the alternatives was like having damage. So like medium armor have damage, and then the one that I liked the most was medium armor having the damage, and then heavy armor half with disadvantage. That feels good. That feels correct. But having is harder to do than subtracting 10. Okay, so 17, cut it in half. Like, can I do that like in under 10 seconds? Yes. But I can't do that instantly, right? 18 damage, cut it in half. 19 damage, cut it in half. 19 damage, subtract 10. That's just 9. I can do it instantly without even a thought. Subtracting 5 is a little bit harder, but it's not as hard as dividing in half. So, why I'm not leaning toward having damage by default. I think it is a harder mathematical operation for people to do, and it scales in a way that I don't like. I think. Yeah, we do want to be careful about things being too fiddly. Yeah, you can just flat deal more damage. You can crit. You can. So there's a lot of things. There's different abilities you can do. You can cast bigger spells. Bigger attacks or bigger spells that cost more actions. Like there's lots of different ways you can deal with it. Okay, that's interesting. Nice. Okay, I would say add it slowly. Add it slowly. Don't go overboard. But yeah, I'm interested to hear how you guys. So I'm really behind on chat. Can you not defend? Yeah, I think I'll just save out the rule book and I'll just save it as a point 0 or something test 0.1 test. Can I use another defense action after using a spell? No, you can only defend once per round. Yeah, the Forest Denizens, the Briarbrains, yeah, that is cool, but unless it's, like, 1 monster or 2 monsters, it could be a lot to track. So, I'm okay with more complicated things sometimes, but I don't want, like, the complicated thing to be the default rule for every monster. So like, the default rule should be, like, nice and solid and streamlined and good and reliable, and then you can have, like, weird little exceptions for this group or this monster or this boss or whatever, but not like, you can't have fiddly stages in this for every monster. It becomes too much to track. Yep, if you're not dealing damage, you gotta change strategies, get creative. Yep. Chill touch? Are you talking about a 5e thing? I don't think I have chill touch. There's no chill touch in here. No, there's no chill touch. I think talking about 5e stuff. Can you give me an example, Cinnabos, of this, dear element? So I was thinking that. So, like, it deals a minimum of 1 damage, but you want to be careful about exceptions, and that is an exception. And, like, if I'm wearing, like, a breastplate and someone just, like, comes, like, tink, like the breastplate, I didn't take any damage, right? So the nothing feels more correct in fantasy. It is really cool. The math worked out. Yeah, if you have a thing like, I don't know, are there any to hit? Yeah, so like Ice Lance, if you roll a 4 with Ice Lance, it deals no damage, but you still hit. So if that's what you're asking, you still, so they're slowed. I just took no damage. So yeah, so those on hit things, they still trigger even if there's no damage. Yes, yes. So yeah. The playtest using the draft files. No, I haven't uploaded this yet. I haven't uploaded yet. Let me see if it's correct. Oh, and another thing that I did tweak, or just clarified, minions. Their feeble attacks cannot crit. They ignore advantage or disadvantage. So I added that. Just keep things simple. We don't, just to clarify that. So I should be able to just export this pretty quickly, and upload it if everybody's okay with it. Building ways to temporarily move armor into a monster stab. Like, yeah, like the cheat has Thunder armor. Other abilities and people have are cool. Yeah, glass golems heavily armored. Yeah, cool. Armored minions are a nice thought. That could be cool. Yeah. Yeah. How could you have like a little rock minion? And you just like you kick him and he dies? No, you have to deal at least 5 damage to him, or at least 10 damage. Yeah. Armored minions would be really cool this way now too. There is a Thunder armor mechanic. The cheat has it, and I think a few other classes have other ways to deal with things. Hit the like button, everybody. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, Chad. Aw. Yeah. Sun armor and others reduce armor abilities. Nice. Yeah. I'm leaning. I am leaning towards this. So, and I did send out a poll, and I got hundreds of responses. I believe last time I checked, hundreds of responses. And it appears that the wider gaming Nimble community is very much on board with this kind of thing. But I wanted to present it before, with all the explanations before before making any changes. Teamwork being tremendously helpful at lower levels. No, it's still very valuable at higher levels. Also because like you have more powerful abilities that improve and aid in teamwork. So the teamwork just sort of changes shape a little bit. I love video games being able to go back and kill enemies that previously kicked your butt. Yeah, I think that kind of thing is cool. Like you remember fighting this shield golem, the shield guardian, 5 levels ago. Like, man, it took like 10 attacks, and like now it took 2. That's cool. Like I wouldn't want to add a rule for that, but like you definitely could just super heavy -20 or something. Like individual monsters can add more complexity to this without it being a common rule. Yeah, the world shouldn't just get stronger because you did. Yeah. Yeah, Titans and other monsters have other ways to deal with attacks. Flat no, flat damage reduction makes it actually way easier to balance. Um, because like I know exactly how much like every attack that lands is going to be reduced by 10. So there's 5 attacks, that's effectively 50 hit points. So it's actually easier to balance. Yeah, it is very resilient to tinkering. That's not going to break anything. But I would at the same time it would increase your mental load without adding any additional fun, I think. Yep, there are certain monsters that have that, like just negate all the damage of the first stack. So like there are different ways to manage it. Yep, elementary math focused teacher for 10 years. Yeah. Yeah, and the way cantrips scale is like +5 damage every 5 levels. So like your flame dart at level 1, like you're dealing D10 damage, versus and then at level 5 versus a medium armored guy, you're dealing D10 damage. So like you get better at dealing with it just naturally as you go. Yeah, losing 50 points of damage to 100, like yeah. So yeah, the having damage does feel pretty bad. Yeah, I do like it. You are rewarded for dealing more damage. So like with taxes, like oh, the more money you earn, the more you pay in taxes. Like well, that disincentivizes me from like working more. Yeah. That could work. I'm not sure. I'd have to math that out. That doesn't tick all the boxes that this system would. Because that would include a good bit of back and forth. Oh, this is medium. Oh, I have to roll again. Oh, this is heavy. I have to roll 2. I have to roll 2 additional dice, and then so what if you roll like your initial dice here, and then you roll the other dice here, and then like now these are the leftmost dice, or like what if you roll here and then you roll the roll again over like it creates weird situations, and it doesn't tick all these boxes the same way. The melee necrotic cantrip, withering touch. Um, for 1 round. For 1 round. Yeah, I don't like I like the small weapons being able to crit a lot. I like that because that is the reward for them. Like the payoff, the reward for like having these weapons that miss more often is they crit more often. How can players lure Jenkins the whelps and take no damage? You can homebrew that. I don't like that kind of thing. It makes turns more complicated. Like, oh, should I spend one action on this attack? Should I spend 3 actions on this attack? Like, I don't love that. I want an attack. This attack does this. Interesting. It is any damage. It is any damage. So minions don't have hit points. They just any damage kills them. The results on the survey for armor were so I'm going to keep them private, just because it's not a democracy. Like this isn't up for a vote. It was more like a directional thing. I wanted to see how people felt about different options. But it's basically like a third is essentially what it was, and then like a bunch of different ideas. Like a third of people would be fine with whatever. A third of people like didn't like it how it currently was, and a third of people were like homebrewing like a different rule. So that is, I don't want the GM to constantly reference the stat block. And I don't want the level of that level of granularity. Like sevens are harder to math than fives or tens, for instance. All the hit points can stay the same. Yeah, all the hit points can stay the same. So armored enemies have 20 or 40% fewer hit points than unarmored creatures, medium and heavy, respectively. Yep. Yeah. However I can to make it better, I want to make it better. Thank you so much, Thomas. All right, almost caught up. You can subvert the expect numbers on some monsters for time. Sure. Yep. For half damage, then only the dice damage. Yeah. I mean, you could definitely, like, I really liked how the current system is, but the way it practically played out at a lot of tables was like we have to address the realities on the ground, and it was confusing to, if it was confusing to like 40% of the player base, then that's not a good situation. Yeah, just different people's brains work differently. Yeah. Nice. We got him. We got him, everybody. We got a Scalabard. Fantastic. If I get Necron, tells me, make me think if I'm going to. So, no, the Withering Touch. It's not a melee attack with your weapon. It's just it is a spell that has the reach of 1. So reach 1, damage 1d12. So you roll a d12. On hit, target is considered undead for 1 round. So it's not a melee attack. It's not a weapon attack. It's a spell. It's a spell that does it. You touch a guy. You definitely could. Yeah, easy to do. Easy to do. If heavy armor is really rare, make medium do half damage and heavy half plus no crit. No, taking away crits is, I think, unfun. I think taking away crits. But if your table likes that, you could definitely do that. Cool. All right, so I'm going to export this document because I like how it is. I'm very, very pleased with what it does to all the different things. And I think the only change that let me actually tell you a couple of other changes that I'm making. A couple of other changes, other tweaks. Enchant weapon has been improved from range touch to range 8. Because initially it was a cantrip, I believe, and Heart's Fire was a tiered spell. So Enchant Weapon is going to be a range 8. Since you do have to spend mana on it, it should be you should have a little bit more freedom to do stuff like that. Heart's Fire, I'm testing out. Heart's Fire being once per round, because I don't want a table of optimizers to feel like, there has to be a berserker and then like 4 mages, and all the mages are just giving all their actions to the berserker to deal to do things optimally. I don't want the optimal thing to also be like deeply unfun. So you could still do some of that kind of shenanigans, but like the mage should be incentivized to play their own turn also. So I'm testing that out. Heart's Fire being once per round. So that was that. I think those 2 improvements will help a lot. Because a lot of people are saying like, hey, Smoldering is too hard to do. Like if Enchant Weapon is easier to do, we don't have to buff the numbers. We can just like make it easier to do, less restrictive. And then there was another tweak to one more tweak to Radiant spells. Rebuke at higher levels, since it does ignore armor and armor works a little bit differently, I tweaked it to +1 damage every 5 levels. So it still ignores armor, but dealing +1 damage every 5 levels instead of +2 damage every 5 levels. Those were the only changes that was needed. And then in the GM guide, Krog, the Goblin King, instead of starting with medium and then going to heavy, he starts unarmored and goes to medium. So that at his last stand. So that was all that was needed since he's a level 2 boss. Yeah, making things more intuitive. Yeah, it is not easy to throw that needle. So you will not miss more. You'll still hit. So like spells that do something on hit, like whatever this one is. Yeah, not that one. Where is it? Wind spells, vicious mockery. You know, so you don't miss on a 1 2 3 or 1 2 or 3. You're still hitting. You still get to do the on hit things, or ice spells. Like you still slow them. You still do the thing. So it's not you're missing. But you are dealing less damage, and you have to be more thoughtful about that damage. So, so if I'm fighting a non-armored guy, I try to do more damage. If I'm fighting a heavy armored guy, I try to do more damage. So you can just do that. You can't just put your head down and attack. But the how can I deal more damage against an unarmored guy is attacking 3 times. A lot of times, that's the best. But how can I deal more damage against a heavily armored guy? Attacking 3 times does not deal more damage. So like this is a bit of a you take the context is taken out of context a little bit. Yes, you're always trying to deal more damage. Like, you know, what do I do against this boss? I try to kill it. What do I do against this boss? I try to kill it. Well, how can you kill that boss? Like, what do I do for this quest? I try to complete it. What do I do for that quest? I try to complete it. Like, what do I do in this role playing situation? I try to get what I want. Like, yes, like that's a bit too reductive. And not criticizing you, just sort of use this as an example. Yes, you always try to beat the quest or get the thing out of the RP situation, but the question is, how do you do it? And the how is what matters, and the how is what changes. So attacking 3 times against a heavily armored guy with a disadvantage and like reducing your chance to crit, like that is not how you're going to do it. You're going to do it by being more thoughtful and trying to set up interesting situations. So yes, this is technically true, but the how is what matters. Yeah, I do got to eat something. Chase, yeah, it's something that I want to playtest. It's something I want to playtest. Yeah, yeah. You know, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. What's the second best time today? Right. So, what was the best time to have this? You know, in the initial printing, right? What's the second best time today? If this is better, you know, it's worth playtesting, of course, obviously. Everything. -5 damage, -10 damage. -5 damage. If you throw a big ice cube at me and I'm wearing plate armor, I don't care if it's an ice cube or if it's a rock. It's damage. That said, some spells do ignore damage, like, you know, ignore, like Stormlash ignores metal armor, which is kind of cool. I can see it. So certain ones do different things, and Rebuke ignores armor, and Entice does because it's sort of like a psychic thing, you know. It's not, you're not just throwing projectiles at someone or trying to hit someone. So there's still, you know, nuance behind a lot of these things. So let me export this, save that, export. Core rules v2 playtest draft. Okay, I'm gonna export it as pages for you guys because a lot of people complain about the spreads. Okay, overset text on page 54. We don't want that. Oh, yeah, I already know about that. All right, we'll try again. V 0.2 dash playtest draft. Okay, pages, export that, overset text. Okay, that's fine. All right, guys, I am exporting. So the same Hive folder that you downloaded the initial things, you should have access to the playtest document, playtest core rules. And you guys, I'm interested. Leave on the Discord. Put in the Discord your thoughts for some for this is and let me know how it goes. Okay, so there's not there resistance is not common to damage types. So damage vulnerabilities. So just to go back to the page, damage vulnerabilities also ignore armor. So if it's an ice thing, you're doing fire, it ignores the armor. So crits. Export your document directly to Adobe Express using. I don't know what Adobe Express is. Crits and vulnerabilities ignore monster armor. So there you go. So this means that your tactics may need to change depending on what you're fighting. Gaining advantage, assessing, changing weapons or abilities can be extremely valuable against armored foes. Isn't that cool? That's cool. You actually need to change your tactics. Oh, you guys couldn't see. I was just showing here and there. So that's what I was showing you. Just had a typo. Yeah, I prefer spreads also. Down 3rd edition, still just Nimble. Just making small tweaks. I had a changelog, but if anybody would like to make a changelog, I would appreciate it. I have a changelog that changes up to this point, and I'll see if I can keep that updated. But there's not a changelog. Like I'm making small changes, like just slimming down the amount of text for some of these things. So if I look here, it's like just the amount of words for all of these. Like there's not a lot of words, but if we compare that to shrink that. Like the icons have changed, but also like we've reduced it down from like 5 lines to 4 lines of text for defend and opportunity attack and help. Like help has been slimmed down a lot. So just like, is this a lot of words? No, but can we say the same thing with fewer words? If we can, then let's do that. So I'm just tightening up a lot of the wording and stuff. So there's not exactly a change log of all of that. He has heavy mind armor. So a random city guard won't. But like a mind flayer type of creature could have resistance to, or like, armor against this or that. Yeah, check out this spell Shatter. There's a spell like that. Love the presentations. All right. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, so because there are people invested in the system, how it is, and currently playing, like I can't. It's sort of like when you're developing the game, like initially, you can sort of do whatever you want. Like it's similar to building a house. Before anybody's living in there, you can just do whatever you make a mess and move things around. All right, instead of this, we're doing that. But when people are already playing it and invested in it and care about it, then you have to move much more cautiously. So is it a big change? No, it's not a big change. I think it's rather modest change, and it's like it is pure upside in my mind. But you do have to have care, and you have to like make sure you're bringing people along with you, so that you're not leaving anybody behind, and explain what's going on. It makes you have no first level unless you crit or homebrew a consumable to make smoldering happen. So if you talk about the mage, you have 2 other for tier 1 spells also. So you have the ice and the lightning spells. That said, you can do enchant weapon at the next time. You can use like the control magic. You can smolder, or like you can set up ways to crit like with your allies and stuff. So in my mind, having abilities and things that you have to teamwork and set up rather than just do for free is part of the fun. So if we made it so that you could just do that, then it can't be 4d10. It has to be like 2d10, or it has to be something smaller. So then like right now it's a narrow, tall thing. Like you can only do it in this situation, but when you can, it's like, whoa, it's way better than anything else. But if we say, oh, you could do it in all these other situations, well then either that's so OP like Fireball and 5e that you'll just use that all the time, which isn't fun because rather than more options, it eliminates every other option because it's so good. So in order to compensate for that, we have to bring that ability's power level down. So you do have to be careful about that kind of thing. Ooh, chaos table. Yeah, I haven't looked at that. Let's actually talk through that right now, because that was one thing that I wanted to address. So let's actually talk about the chaos table. Great. Chaosity. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's bring up the chaos table. Okay. Chaos table. Okay, chaos table is not in that file. Where is the chaos table? Where is it? Project. I think it's in the end papers. There it is. Okay, so we've got the chaos table here. So the wording has been updated. The wording has been updated in the more updated reprints. But if you defend once, you cannot defend again that round. So, for instance, Flame Barrier, castable when you defend. So it's just a little bit easier, and it takes 0 actions. So it's just a little bit easier to understand. It's not a defend for free. But if you defend once, you can't defend again that round. Okay, chaos table. Let's take a look at this. So goals for the chaos table, we do not want this to negatively impact your party. So the thing where, like, I don't want my fun to impact your fun negatively. Like, my fun can improve your fun, but I don't want my fun to negate your fun. So that is something that I want to that is one goal. So I think the wild magic table in 5e has like you cast fireball centered on yourself, so you kill all your allies basically. I don't want that to happen. No, I like the chaos of it. I don't want it to be a I don't want it to be a curve. As you level up as a chaos mage, you do get you get to roll with advantage, so the bad things happen less often. Yeah. That's exactly right, Green Ranger. Nice. I forgot to even mention that. Yeah, everybody, the Monsters and More book is out. It's out. You can look at it and play it. The first draft, at least. As a song waver, picking fire to second school, you don't. That's fair, but as a song waver, you have other abilities that you can do. Also, you have like your tier 1 spells, your tier 1 wind spell, and your song weaver abilities. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm open to be convinced. So like I'm not like a stalwart no, but I'm open to be convinced. So like I was open to being I'm open to being convinced about all these different things. So initially when someone said like, oh, why does armor work this way? It's kind of weird. There's friction at my table. I said like, no. It's good because of this and this, and I would explain it. The next time it was brought up, like, no, it's good here. But like once I hear it so much, and then like, okay, I'll consider it. So it's not a no, it's just that like that ignite is a spell working as intended. I think ignite that is how that spell should work. If we change it, then it does things to make the game more unfun. You'll get the updated core rules and GM guide and TBD about the heroes, because the heroes are changing more. So no, you shouldn't have to rebuy those if you just want the errata is going to be made available for free. There is a new fire specialty subclass just for the mage. So if you're into that, then feel free to DM me if you want to chat more about it on Discord. Some new monsters only have a single ability rather than an ability specific to the whole group. So my goal right now is so if we go back to the gym guide, go to the monsters. Where's the monsters? Okay, so for goblins, because the information in the Monsters More book is going to be spread out across more pages, I don't want a new GM to see Bugbear and like just look at this and miss this. Okay, so in the Monsters More book, what I'm doing is monsters with. Let me go to A, just to show you. There's Knowles. Okay, so now rather than having a group ability, each monster just has that, just so that like I could just like screenshot this, and I have everything I need, and I don't have to reference something elsewhere. So I am shifting things around. So I'm moving away from group abilities, unless it's like an initiative ability, like for the orcs. So like orcs have this ability like for initiative, right? And I think tough as nails might be just added to this or something. So battle lust, like that is their thing. Like you don't need that in the stat block. Okay. Which you use to calculate the average damage numbers, etc. So all of that is inside the Creator's Kit if you want to look at that. The average damage for monsters is in the GM guide, and the damage for the heroes is right here in the Creator's Kit, and that's free on the website if you just want to download that. But lots of spreadsheets. I will just say lots and lots of spreadsheets. So like lots and lots of math models and programming and all sorts of different things that goes into the math of the game. So that was all of that was solved 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, the Eric, when you do get caught up here, that is something that some monsters still do have, like in addition to like medium or heavy armor. So like if you look at the unicorn, for instance, the unicorn has something like that. Yep. There's a guide to make serious spells from the actual spell list. Oh, is there a guide? There isn't. Spells are just sort of unique. Maybe I might expand the Creator's Kit to include some of that. We'll see. Okay, so let's look at the this. So elemental overload, enemies within 12 spaces. So I'm going to say reach 12 enemies. Isn't that better? Enemies take int d8 lightning damage. Okay, your spells. So that one's really good. We'll leave that one. Mighty Mana. Your spells, including the one that trigger. And if you guys, so what I'm looking for right now, if you guys are still hanging out, hey War. If you guys are still hanging out, let me know which of the chaos table things are the best and which are the worst. Not just like, oh, the higher numbers are better, but like in terms of like fun, which are the most fun, which are the most unfun. Both in terms of like this is a bad thing that happens, but it's still fun that it happens. So you guys let me know which ones. Storage. All right, we made it. We did it, everybody. The core rules and GM guide. Yeah, everything's being reprinted, but no, I can't just like mail out thousands of free books. Can't do that. But the PDFs are going to be made available for the updated PDFs. Yes. Okay. About why wish is bad. That's more about the writing style rather than about spells. Okay, so I am looking for feedback right now on like, hey, number 8 is a pain point. Number 17 is like, so like, let me know which of these we should pay attention to the most. And I'll leave them on screen so you guys can read them. 19, Mighty Mana. Your spells, including the one that trigger this effect, are empowered. Oh, and I think one of the changes was people wanted this to be key rather than int. Key, not lay, key. Diamonds can multiply your armor by int. You can defend for free each round. Let's say key. All nuts is great, yeah. All nuts is horrible. I ran out of the combat and left my teammates in the wind. Backfire has killed me. It triggered in a crit zap. Okay, so the goal is even if something bad happens, it shouldn't be a feels bad. It should be funny. Like it should be a funny, fun punishment and not like, this is stupid. Okay, like, ah, man, that stinks. Like, ah, like make something that makes a good memory. So that's the vibes I'm going for. Makes a good memory. Funny that happened. It doesn't like completely end the game. Like those are the kinds of things that I'm looking for. Okay. It sets you back. This is the risk to the reward for all the good things that do happen. Perfect. Yeah. 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 So this change fixes everything. Fixes everything. So it's until you take damage. So like one of your allies has to deal one point of damage or something to you. So that it's basically just like, all right, someone's gonna have to like do this thing to me. Or the GM could just like come smack you with a weapon. Whenever I crit a spell, I am scared instead of excited because I have died or done nothing for rounds. Okay. That is funny, and I can see how that is true also. Let me get back to let's open up reprint files, Nimble draft files, heroes. Let's open up mage. Chaos. Okay, whenever you cast a spell, you can choose to spend 1 mana less. Whenever you do this, or whenever you crit, invoke chaos. All right. No, that'll slow things down a lot. That would slow things down a lot. Yeah, we don't want to do that. I rolled this. I rolled that. I added up. I have to add it up. I have to subtract this. You subtract that. Like there's just like 5 more steps involved with all of that. And negative UIs, yeah. Is this Frank Octopus? You got the same avatar as Frank. I don't know. Everybody has different Discord and YouTube usernames. Elemental eruption. That could be funny though. Rolling and calculating? It's that 2 players have to roll and calculate and coordinate together rather than I do this and it just happens. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, Frank. Frank is he's been helping me a lot on writing and stuff. He's a fantastic fantastic developer. So appreciate your help, Frank. All Nuts was fun. Yeah, it should feel like that, like a minor setback, like a pleasantly fun memory, minor setback. I've crit 1 time with flame dart, then turned into cocoon, so I couldn't ignite. Oh no, that stinks. Yeah, that stinks. Yeah. So there may be too many bad things, and it should be. Maybe there could just be like more like randomness and neutral things rather than so many bad things. I feel like 1, 2, and 3 should be bad. 18, 19, 20 should be good, and like the rest should be like some like gradient of here. Let me just we'll take it back to here. Okay, so let's make a new. You guys can see this, right? You can let's make a new. So this is what I want it to feel like. Okay. The vibes of the chaos table. So it should feel. Should feel like this. 1, 2, 1 through 3. 18 through 20. Let's just delete that. We'll go. So 1 through 3 should be pretty bad. And then 4 through 17 should like be like moderately increasing, and then 18 through 20 should be like this. So that is roughly like that is roughly the curve that I want. And that is with like if this, oh no. Okay, B. That's assuming this is, push the wrong button. Assuming this, God. So if this is sort of like medium, so if this is neutral, like neutral but random, like somewhere up here. So like they should mostly be good, but like the risk of some bad things. Okay, so this is what it should. This is what it should be. And this is like. Well, let me think about this. So 4 should be like moderately bad. Yeah. So it should be more like this. But what I think it feels like, if I can show you what I think it feels, I think it feels more like this. It's a bit more linear. So I think it's probably a lot more like this than anything else. And I don't want that. Like there's like a little bit of neutral. The middle is like this. So I think we need to do this. Does everybody agree? Does that make sense? I want it to feel more like this. Yes. So let's go do that now before I forget again. Key. So like here you can like if you have like a 3 and a 1, you can pick the 1. If you have a 2, you could pick the like it's 2. So like yeah, that's fine. Like you could pick either key. So in key. Okay, so you guys let me know if this feels better. Lemon ran my first game yesterday and loved it. Had an interaction that had me scratching my head. Can hero A, interpose an attack on hero B who's grappled by creature C. It depends on the specifics. So like if like so grappling interposing like is you're pushing someone out of the way. So if like a monster's grabbing this guy and like squeezing him and that's the attack, you probably can't interpose against that. But if like this plant dude has like vines like and like the other hero is like over here and like some other guy over here is like attacking him, like can you still push this guy out of the way even though he's grappled? Yeah, you can. So it depends on the context. So there's not a hard and fast rule with that, but like if a monster is biting you, you're grappled because you're being bitten by a monster. Can you interpose for that? No. But forced movement does break grapple. So there's not a hard and fast rule about that. So we can end the grapple. Okay. If you sent me something and I didn't respond or something, feel free to send it again. I am busy. Yeah, that's fine. Not sure if elemental interruption leading to total party wipe in the first combat for level 1. At least it felt. I mean, hey, like one of the most memorable moments. So like, yes. But if you're gonna have a TPK, love like before you get to invest in it is maybe a least bad time. But at the same time, it probably wouldn't be a TPK because like if it's key, like you might have like it's gonna be like 2d10 damage. You can still defend against that even if you drop to 0. You still can act and like there's other things like and then it's probably gonna kill the monsters too. So like I don't think it's too bad. But that said, I will think about it. And you can make a dex save, so your key attribute is gonna be either like 1d10 or 2d10. So it's not nearly as bad as what you would think. And that's only for creatures within this raid, then so yeah. 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 11. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe on crit. So okay, that's something. So yeah, I don't want a crit to feel punishing. So maybe on crit you can choose to roll on the chaos table. What do you think about that? What do you think about that as an improvement? So I think on crit it's not. Oh, because it's a new version. Okay, so I think that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. So I'm like because I do want crits to feel like an unmitigated good thing. Yeah, I want crits to be an unmitigated good thing, a thing that I opt into. So that is a good point. How do you feel about changing from on hit to on damage or on damage for clarity? Yeah, that is what it means. So on damage and on hit are two different things. Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be open to it. Well, a party shouldn't have a chaos table by level 1. Wrong. That is true. Good point. I didn't even think about that. Best memories I have at cast table: liquefied legs, then emerged beautiful, comboed and left my team with the impression. Magic is horrifying. Can't remember what, but there was an ability explained on stream that was an on-hit ability, but functioned on damage. No, yeah, on hit and on damage are two different things, and there may be some mistakes, but they are two different things. Yeah, there's a little bit of shame in it, but you can't do that. Yeah. So let's get down to business. I love this bit. Squirrels can't cast spells. That's so funny. It's nice sometimes having a really poor memory, because I make myself laugh. As you level up with the cast mage, you do roll with advantage. Yeah, that's probably what it will end up being. Max. Second memory, I love the memories. I became embiggened just as a giant construct joined the fight, which went from horrifying situation to awesome situation. Team like that, yeah. Kaiju battle. Having the option is better for sure, even getting to roll with advantage. So yeah, you can. You can. Yeah. That might be too strong if you could just do it. You convince me on elemental eruption? Yeah, it would have been fine to allow it. Yeah, it only happens at level 3 where you can easily tank key D10 fire damage. Okay. Oh, there's an ancestor that gives cast. Okay. Yeah. Ah, yes. Ah, man. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. No, you're right. Yes. Exotic ancestor. I think it's weirdling when you cast a tiered spell. Yeah, so you don't get tiered spells until level 2. Yeah. Having a question: if you use a magic shield that says you defend, I feel like this question keeps getting asked. I did answer it. So no, if you defend, you can't defend again until the next round. And that wording has been updated, so hopefully it's less confusing. Okay, backfire. I think this one is good. I think this one is good, and this one is good. I feel like those are fine. Since it is at the end of each of your turns, let's change these to D4s instead of D6s, because you're summoning them every turn. So like this is like you want to trigger chaos again very, very quickly to sort of end that. So what if this is like you could avoid it by taking some small amount of damage also without triggering chaos? No, you could just trigger chaos on the next spell you cast. So no, we don't need to add too many outs. A random enemy is pulled adjacent to you at the end of each of your turns. I feel like that one's fine. That one's fine. This one is okay. So like these are like bad, but not like, I don't feel like these are infinitely terrible. It only controls one action for you at the start of each of your turns. Let's say at the end of each of your turns. So like your turn ends, they immediately spin an action. Okay, it's a bad thing. But when your turn comes around again, you could just trigger chaos again. So like it's something that just sort of happens once. So I think this one is okay because like you just want to end it right away. So it's not too bad. You know, lose an action. Ethereal cocoon, you're enveloped in magical cocoon until at the end of your next turn you fall prone. Okay, this is like you lose one turn, but you can still do a lot of damage, and like all your allies have to run away from you. I think that's okay. I think this one's okay. The last spell you cast is cast again for free against a random target. That one could be very bad or very good. That one might be too swingy. That might be too swingy. Okay, so we've buffed the Chaos Mage by making it a choice on crit, because I do want crits to be an unmitigated good thing. And I want the cast table to be something you opt into. Yep. For 11, worst place could be under the floor. Is this wise? No. No. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, you can only defend once, yeah. I hope that didn't come across as me being like frustrated or anything. It was more just confused. You guys feel free to ask questions. Yes, you can only have one chaos effect up at a time. Unless otherwise noted, they last for 1 minute or until chaos is triggered again. So if you trigger it again, it goes away. So I cannot send the new books to the reprinter books to thousands of new people. So like just like if you bought a car, like I bought a car, a few years back, and then would you believe it? The car company released like a new version of the car the next year. They don't give me a new car. So I'm happy to give people updated PDFs, but if you bought it as an early supporter, like I can't afford to. If you buy it again, like yeah, you get the new stuff. But if you just want the errata is being made available for free, and PDFs are being made available for free of the core rules and the core rules and the GM guide. I still have to see about the heroes. I'm going to be careful what I promise, but maybe. Yep. 20 monies behind. One thought. What's it? Because the legendary monster should last 50 turns roughly. So it means that means a level 19 monster requires 25 and 30 armor, not 5 or 10. Okay, so pulling up the creator's kit. No, that is not quite exactly how it works. That means a level 19 monster requires 25 and 30 armor, not 5 or 10. Legendary monsters should last. Okay, so you're talking about legendary monsters. Let me pull up the. I'll just pull it up. Here, legendary monster. That's not the legendary one. Gym guide. So no, the math doesn't quite work that way. So the assumption, so last stand is just 10 times the hit points. Medium armor, so this is, I think, 20% less than heavy armor. 525 times 0.8, 420. Yeah, so it's roughly 80%, 20% less. So what was it? A level 19 monster requires, so we're talking about this line here, requires 25 and 30 armor, not 5 or 10. No, so on average, medium armor negated 5 damage per attack or per action. And then heavy armor negated roughly 10 damage per attack or per action. So armor does not scale that way at all. Mana Storm giving an enemy dragon form would be horrifying. It would be memorable though. Or would it just not work because it's a self spell? I mean, the odds of that ever happening are pretty small, but let's just think about it. Against a random target. Yeah, so some spells don't target early adopter attacks. I mean, yeah, like if you bought it and had it for a year, like you've been able to play for a year before other people. Like that's not nothing. So if it was free or even economical for me to send everybody updated books, I would just do that. I would just do that. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. But no, it is very, very, very expensive to do that, especially shipping. I was thinking about homebrewing some super high armor at high levels, but only like 15, 30. Yeah, only 15, 30 seems odd. Yeah, 15 is probably too odd of a number. What I would recommend is keep it at 10. Do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. But what I would recommend doing, just game design wise, is keep it at 10 and then give them some other way to mitigate damage. They can move before the attack lands. They can swap, like make it more interesting than just that. So you don't want it to be so punishing that it's unfun. Like there is a, sorry, I keep saying like a lot. I don't know why that is a crutch that has come up recently. There is a why can't I select this? So speaking of fun stuff, there is a chart. So this is the line of difficulty. This here is the line of difficulty. Anything that is on the line of challenge, anything on the line is fun. Anything that is too challenging is frustrating. Anything that is too hard or too easy is boring. Okay, so you need to thread that needle. It is exceedingly difficult to do. And this line is actually quite a bit thicker here. So this line is quite a bit thicker. And I would even duplicate it and do this. I would even do something like this. So anything sort of in here is like it's good fun, right? It's good fun. It's starting to get a little bit frustrating, and then here it's not as fun anymore. So you need to be careful that the challenge is appropriate and not so slow and frustrating, or not so easy and boring. It's okay to like dip here, and then dip back, and dip here and dip back, but yeah. Why not 5e monster AC minus 10 equals X damage reduction? You could definitely do that. You could easily do that. You could do level. The medium armor is damage reduction equal to the level, and heavy armor is level times 2. Like you could do that, and the numbers will be about right. But that level of granularity is too much to track. I think it doesn't tick. It ticks some of the boxes. So it's easy to think of ideas that tick some of the boxes. It is hard, exceedingly hard to tick to come up with a solution that ticks all the boxes. So new game designers will generally think of something. Oh, this makes sense in world. Like this is an idea. It's super duper makes sense. But man, it takes forever to do, or it's boring, or this or that. Or they can. Oh, this is super fast to do, but it doesn't make sense. Et cetera, or it flattens the strategy, or there's just a ton of friction, or you could do this, it ticks all these boxes, but then you have to redo all of the classes. So it's not enough just to tick one or two of the boxes, or even most of them, I think. Yeah, there are definitely more interesting ways to add challenge than stacking armor. For instance, look at how many of these guys. So I think this guy has a cool way. So he has a sanguine cloak. Once per turn, deal 1d10 necrotic damage whenever you hit. The attack is reduced by this amount. So he doesn't have armor because look at him, he doesn't have armor. It wouldn't make sense for him to have armor. So instead, he has other more interesting ways to mitigate damage. He can beguile you, where people don't attack him as much, or he can gain mist form, bat decoy whenever he would take damage. Instead, swap places with a bat minion. So all of this is acting as damage reduction, but progress is still happening, and it's not overly punishing, right? So keep those kinds of things in mind whenever you're designing things, rather than, oh yeah, this knob when cranked up to 10 is fun. Let's crank it up to 20. All of a sudden now that's not fun. Like music cranked up to this volume is fun. You crank down a little is fun. Like it's good to listen to. Too quiet, it's not fun. You can't hear it. Too loud, it's unfun. It gives you a headache, right? So these design knobs, you can tweak them, but you may not need so much granularity. So imagine the remote on your TV. Instead of going from 0 to 30 or 0 to 50, what if the granularity on your TV went from 0 to 1,000? In order to increase the volume from too quiet, you can't really hear it, to appropriate, you have to push the button 50 times instead of like 3 times. That level of granularity is not only not helpful, it's actively unfun. It's actively the opposite of what you want. So you want to be able to push a button 2 or 3 times to make it from too quiet to appropriate, or too loud to the right volume. You want the right level of granularity. So too much granularity is bad. Not only is it like just the same amount of fun for more work, it's more work and it's worse, right? So there should be the right level of granularity, and there should be better ways to do what you want. Like if I want to turn the volume to 0, there is a mute button, right? If I want to do different things, uh, such as reducing incoming damage, are there more interesting ways to do this without giving people headaches? Yep, you could definitely do that. That would totally work. But is that worth it? Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. Let's call it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you guys spending the time with me and all the feedback. Please let me know on Discord your thoughts on the armor, the playtest, how not just how you like it or don't like it, just thinking about it, but how you think how it plays when you playtest it, because I think it is a subtle enough change that impacts many things in a very interesting way, a very good way. So please let me know your thoughts and your feedback there. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. I will keep working on things and making rad stuff for you.